What is good, everyone? How's everybody today? A lot of stuff happened this week. A lot of stuff happened this week. I do apologize for not streaming last Saturday. Um, I had a family emergency, or well, my cousin died, and I just couldn't bring myself to stream. And I apologize. Um, but anyway, we got a lot to get into today. Starting with one of the funniest ones. The Arizona primary for the Republican Party, where it doesn't really matter because they don't decide by primary vote. They actually do a caucus. But it is funny. They had a primary vote, and Nikki Haley managed to lose to none of the above. Donald Trump wasn't even on it. It was Nikki Haley, some guy I'd never heard of, and Mike Pence. So basically, she lost a one-man race by 30 points. Oh man, that's too good. That's too good. Okay, so anyway, have other stuff going too. It was very interesting when there was the Supreme Court hearing where they had their verbal arguments to keep Trump off of the ballot in Colorado. We don't have a ruling on that, obviously, yet. That might take a week or two, or I'm sure they're going to expedite it. But in fact, they already have. That's why they heard it. But anyway, if you listen to the questioning, it seemed even the more liberal justices that I heard. I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna come down with Colorado on this one. I don't. I think they're going to keep it the purview of the federal government as to who's on the ballot. Because I listened to somebody and they made a very good point. And I can't remember if it was off of Megyn Kelly's show or a different one. But anyway, that would really lead to a mess if they left it up to the states, because then the red states are going to go, no, we're not having the blue on there. Blue states are going to go, no, we're not having the red on there. No, it's got to be across the board. It has to be. Then on top of that, we had a really interesting development in Biden's special counsel investigation into the documents that he had. And it was very interesting that the guy, apparently he knew he wasn't going to get an indictment. Certainly not with Merrick Garland as the AG. So instead, he put it into writing that he didn't recommend for an indictment because, in his experience in questioning of Biden, his mental faculties are gone. I mean, his mental faculties aren't there. He couldn't remember when he was vice president, what year he started or what year he ended. What was another one? He said that he couldn't, even with a range, within 6 years, identify the year that his son was killed, which he talks about all the time. So that's a little sus. But anyway, so that's now in a legal document. So that kind of puts him in, I think the best way I heard it. Hang on a second. Why is my hat all fuzzy on the screen there? Anyway, so that brings it into question, though, of now, okay, if he's been deemed mentally incompetent to stand trial. Where does that leave Congress? I mean, Congress has to do something then, don't they? If he's been deemed too senile or whatever to stand trial, then he can't stay in power, right? I mean, I'm just asking. I'm asking. I'm not saying anything. I'm just following logic. So, yeah, there's all that. And then we had Tucker Carlson interviewing Putin. And I'm going to feature some of that tonight. Talk about it a little bit and show you some things that I found interesting. I highly recommend you go out and watch the whole thing, and there will be a link to it in the description when I'm done. But yeah, you should really go out and watch it and draw your own conclusions. But what made me really interested in seeing it when it came out was this little piece. It's off of CNN. And look at how they reacted. Listen to what they had to say. Let me put on my headphones so I can hear it with you.
Vladimir Putin. Tucker Carlson is lying from the streets of Russia, no less.
Okay, let me go all the way back here.
We're here to interview the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin.
Oh, hang on a second. I'm sorry. I didn't put it on the screen there. Okay, why isn't it on the screen? Oh, because I forgot to make it visible. Why isn't it visible? Let me check something here. Okay. Yes. Well, folks, I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. Try that again. There we go. There we go. All right.
We're here to interview the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin.
Tucker Carlson is lying from the streets of Russia, no less.
Not a single Western journalist has bothered to interview the president
How's he
of
lying
the other country
when he said
involved in this conflict.
Hang on. Listen to that. He's lying from the streets of Russia. We're here to interview the president of Russia,
Vladimir Putin.
Tucker Carlson.
Apparently he's not lying because he got the interview.
Carlson is lying from the streets of Russia, no less.
Not a single Western journalist has bothered to interview the president of the other country involved in this conflict, Vladimir Putin.
Now, I want you to listen to what he said, what he actually said. Nobody has interviewed President Putin. He didn't say that they haven't requested it or anything, but nobody's gotten it.
That's a lie. Serious news outlets, including CNN, have requested Putin to interview over and over again.
Okay, now let me ask you a question. If you're Putin and you watch what they do with this, you've seen what they do with this, it's why nobody trusts journalists, mainstream media. And I'm putting together a story on that, and it'll have examples all the way through. No, you didn't say they hadn't requested it. Just nobody else has gotten it.
Most Americans have no idea why Putin invaded Ukraine or what his goals are now. They've never heard his voice.
Another lie. Serious news outlets, including CNN, have covered and, of course, reported on Putin's words since this war began, including one.
Their version of it. He hasn't spoken to the American people. Nobody's interviewed him. That's all he's saying.
One of his baseless justifications for the invasion of Ukraine, which he initially claimed was to stop the Nazis.
And we'll get into that. I've got that.
First, because it's our job. We're in journalism.
Tucker Carlson is not a journalist.
Really? Really? Tucker Carlson is not a journalist. And she said that with a straight face. What the actual fuck?
Not even close. And his former employer in a court case actually agreed. Quote, the general tenor of the show should then inform a viewer that Carlson is not stating actual facts about the topics he discusses and is instead engaging in exaggeration and non-literal commentary.
2 years into a war that's reshaping the entire world, most Americans are not informed. They have no real idea what's happening in this region, here in Russia or 600 miles away in Ukraine.
For 2 years, real journalists have risked their lives to report from the ground each and every day in.
This is what's hilarious. See, they're trying so hard to say, oh no, the American people are informed. No, they're not. No, they're not. Most people have no clue what has gone on in this region. And in this interview with President Putin, he lays out, the first 30 minutes are a history lesson of Russia. And he tries to then show you exactly what's going on and the historic aspect. So because you can't solve a conflict in an area if you don't know the area, all of its history, what it's gone through. I mean, we made that mistake in Vietnam. Okay? That one was that showed it. And if you're ever interested in that, we can go into detail on that sometime if that's something you would like to hear about. But yeah, let's get back to her lying mouth.
Russia and in Ukraine, including 2 U.S. journalists who are right now baselessly being detained by Vladimir Putin. And joining me now is founder
and I don't care about the rest of what they got to say, okay? Because they've already shown that you can't trust anything coming out of their mouths. So, yeah, thanks for that. And then you wonder why mainstream media doesn't have credibility. There's why, right there. So, let's go to the Tucker Carlson interview. Now, I am starting this. I'm not going to watch all 2 hours of it and comment on it here. But like I said, the first half hour was just him giving a history lesson about Russia, how Ukraine came about. There was no Ukraine until the Soviet Union made a Ukraine. So, all right. So, let's listen to what he has to say here, starting at the 41:30 mark.
The elections in already independent, sovereign Ukraine, which gained its independence as a result of the Declaration of Independence. And by the way, it says that Ukraine is a neutral state, and in 2008, suddenly the doors or gates to NATO were open to it.
So one of the things is that one of the understandings was that Ukraine would not join NATO. It's part of the whole Soviet dissolution and agreements and things like that. But Ukraine was supposed to be independent, but neutral and not part of NATO.
Come on. This is not how we agreed. Now, all the presidents that have come to power in Ukraine, they relied on electorate with a good attitude to Russia in one way or the other. This is the southeast of Ukraine. This is a large number of people.
I don't know why it's having so many problems tonight. There it goes. Okay. I apologize. Let me start that over so you can see it. It's a 41:30. We'll go back here a little bit. Okay.
It's ridiculous. It's like kindergarten. Where are the guarantees? What kindergarten is this? What kind of people are these? Who are they? You see, they were pressed, they agreed. And then they say, Ukraine won't be in the NATO, you know? I say, I don't know. I know you agreed in 2008. Why won't you agree in the future? Well, they pressed us then. I say, why won't they press you tomorrow? And you'll agree again. Well, it's nonsensical. Who's there to talk to? I just don't understand. We're ready to talk. But with whom? Where are the guarantees? None. So they started to develop the territory of Ukraine. Whatever is there, I have told you the background, how this territory developed, what kind of relations there were with Russia. Every second or third person there has always had some ties with Russia. And during the elections in...
So that goes to show you right there that, yeah, it does have a basis. He even at one point in his interview talks about when he was a kid or a young man, took a trip over to Ukraine, and all the signs and language spoken were just only two. It was either Russian or I think Hungarian or something. So strong Russian influence. Used to be part of Russia, Soviet Union anyway. So
already independent, sovereign Ukraine, which gained its independence as a result of the Declaration of Independence. And by the way, it says that Ukraine is a neutral state, and in 2008, suddenly the doors or gates to NATO were open to it. Oh, come on. This is not how we agreed. Now, all the presidents that have come to power in Ukraine, they relied on electorate with a good attitude to Russia in one way or the other. This is the southeast of Ukraine. This is a large number of people. And it was very difficult to dissuade this electorate, which had a positive attitude towards Russia. Viktor Yanukovych came to power, and how? The first time he won after President Kuchma, they organized a third round, which is not provided for in the constitution of Ukraine. This is a coup d'etat.
okay. Now there's a lot of talk out there about a coup d'etat that was led or backed by the U.S. occurring in 2014. He's talking and saying that it was prior to that, it went with this election, which, by the way, here, I'll pull it up for you here. Okay, so he's talking about this one right here. So it would have been somewhere during this guy's term and going into this guy's term. Now, this says that he was in office till 2010, but this is a Wikipedia thing, so who knows? Oops. There we go. Now you can see it better. So he's saying it was sometime during Yushchenko's and Yanukovych, somewhere in this area. Just to give you a time base, okay? So we're talking somewhere, he's talking, I think, around 2008 or 9. And you think he's not talking so much about, I don't know if he's talking about the president or not. But let's go back. Okay.
Just imagine, someone in the United States wouldn't like the outcome.
In 2014?
Before that. No, this was before that. After President Kuchma, Viktor Yanukovych won the elections. However, his opponents did not recognize that victory. The US supported the opposition, and the third round was scheduled. What is this? This is a coup. The US supported it, and the winner of the third round came to power. Imagine if in the US something was not to someone's liking, and the third round of election, which the US Constitution does not provide for, was organized. Nonetheless, it was done in Ukraine. Okay, Viktor Yushchenko, who was considered a pro-Western politician, came to power. Fine, we have built relations with him as well. He came to Moscow with visits. We visited Kiev. I visited too. We met in an informal setting. If he's pro-Western, so be it. It's fine. Let people do their job. The situation should have developed inside the independent Ukraine itself. As a result of Kuchma's leadership, things got worse and Viktor Yanukovych came to power after all. Maybe he wasn't the best president and politician, I don't know. I don't want to give assessments. However, the issue of the association with the EU came up. We have always been lenient to this, suit yourself. But when we read through the Treaty of Association, it turned out to be a problem for us, since we had a free trade zone and open customs borders with Ukraine, which under this association had to open its borders for Europe, which could have led to flooding of our market. We said, no, this is not going to work. We shall close our borders with Ukraine then. The customs borders, that is. Yanukovych started to calculate how much Ukraine was going to gain, how much to lose, and said to his European partners, I need more time to think before signing. The moment he said that, the opposition began to take destructive steps, which were supported by the West. It all came down to Maidan and a coup in Ukraine.
So, yeah, there are articles out there on it, if that's something you're interested in looking into. And it all leads to, you notice it's a power struggle in that region. And the West is, for whatever reason, trying to get Ukraine, fund Ukraine, it seems that there's just a conflict of power in interests. I'm not real geopolitically savvy as to the intricacies of this, but I know I certainly, have my own thoughts on it. Let's say that.
So he did more trade with Russia than with the EU. Ukraine did.
Of course. It's not even the matter of trade volume, although for the most part it is. It is the matter of cooperation ties, which the entire Ukrainian economy was based on. The cooperation ties between the enterprises were very close.
Okay, so that's what he's saying. This is how this is all led up. Okay, I'm going to go forward a little bit and talk about this next section. Oops. Dang, there we go. All right.
So, in 2008, the doors of NATO were opened for Ukraine.
Which
In
wasn't part of the agreement.
2014, there was a coup. They started persecuting those who did not accept the coup, and it was indeed a coup. They created a threat to Crimea, which we had to take under our protection. They launched a war in Donbass in 2014 with the use of aircraft and artillery against civilians.
Okay, and I will see if I can find it again. There is a reporter that I believe it was in 16 or 18. They released a video, and they cover all this. And they're in the Donbass. And, I saw the video. If it's real, which I believe if it was, then I was already aware of this. But yeah, he confirms it then. He confirms the timeline and everything that I've been hearing or that I've been seeing since I've been watching this, but when it started.
This is when it all started. There's a video of aircraft attacking Donetsk from above. They launched a large-scale military operation, then another one. When they failed, they started to prepare the next one. All this against the background of military development of this territory and opening of NATO's doors. How could we not express concern over what was happening? From our side, this would have been a culpable negligence. That's what it would have been. It's just that the US political leadership pushed us to the line we could not cross, because doing so could have ruined Russia itself. Besides, we could not leave our brothers in faith, in fact, a part of Russian people, in the face.
That's an important thing. You got to watch the whole video. But he talks about the church and faith and how it connects the Russian people. So, as part of his campaign, Zelensky, he has gone and started. They're passing a law against the church. Yeah, let me pull that up for you. I'll show you. It's even on Reuters. So here it is here. Ukraine to prepare law banning churches affiliated with Russia. Well, it's the Russian Orthodox Church. Hello? Ukrainian government will draw up Ukraine has searched church premises across the country. Kyiv warns of subversive activities. Former Russian president condemns Ukraine's moves. But here it is right here. The Security Council, which groups top security, military, political figures, also ordered investigation into suspected subversive activities of Russian special services in the religious environment of Ukraine. So they're trying to pass a law. And if it is a staple in the Russian life, well, it just shows you that he's not wanting to run a democracy in the Ukraine, I believe. I mean, what it looks like to me. But let's move on.
Of this war machine.
Sorry.
What was but that was 8 years before the current conflict started. So what was the trigger for you? What was the moment where you decided you had to do this?
Спровоцировал конфликт изначально.
Initially, it was the coup in Ukraine that provoked the conflict. By the way, back then the representatives of 3 European countries, Germany, Poland and France, arrived. They were the guarantors of the signed agreement between the government of Yanukovych and the opposition.
I want you to think about something too. Who is the leadership here in 14 and in 8? I'll wait. Well, who's been accused of taking money and had it shown that from Ukraine? Well, man, I can't think of the guy's name. I've seen him. He's a really old guy. Lost it too. Yeah.
They signed it as guarantors. Despite that, the opposition committed a coup, and all these countries pretended that they didn't remember that they were guarantors of the peaceful settlement. They just threw it in the stove right away, and nobody recalls that. I don't know if the US know anything about the agreement between the opposition and the authorities, and its 3 guarantors who, instead of bringing this whole situation back in the political field, supported the coup. Although it was meaningless, believe me, because President Yanukovych agreed to all conditions. He was ready to hold an early election, which he had no chance of winning, frankly speaking. Everyone knew that. Then,
Okay. So there you go. There's a something that had been out there, and I'd seen videos on, and he seems to confirm what those videos were saying. So let's move to the next subject that I thought was interesting.
No, we haven't achieved our aims yet, because one of them is the
He's talking here about would you take what you've got? Have you achieved your aim? Have you done everything you wanted to do? This is his answer. Back here, I'll take it back a little bit so you can hear the question too.
And we did not start this war in 2022. This is an attempt to stop it.
Do you think you've stopped it now? I mean, have you achieved your aims?
No, we haven't achieved our aims yet, because one of them is denazification. This means the prohibition of all kinds of neo-Nazi movements. This is one of the problems that we discussed during the negotiation process, which ended in Istanbul early this year. And it was not our initiative, because we were told by the Europeans, in particular, that it was necessary to create conditions for the final signing of the documents. My counterparts in France and Germany said, "How can you imagine them signing a treaty with a gun to their heads? The troops should be pulled back from Kiev." I said, "All right." We withdrew the troops from Kiev. As soon as we pulled back our troops from Kiev, our Ukrainian negotiators immediately threw all our agreements reached in Istanbul into the bin and got prepared for a long-standing armed confrontation with the help of the United States and its satellites in Europe. That is how the situation has developed, and that is how it looks now.
But what is, pardon my ignorance, what is denazification? What would that mean? What is...
Да, вот я как раз хочу сейчас об этом сказать. Это очень важный вопрос. Денацификация.
That is what I want to talk about right now. It is a very important issue. Denazification. After gaining independence, Ukraine began to search as...
Just to clarify, I've seen a lot of stuff on the white supremacy groups and neo-Nazi groups. One of the key ones was Azov, A-Z-O-V. So there's a lot of reports out there on that. If that's something you'd like to look into or something you want me to look into and present, I'll do that as well if you like. Just leave a comment. And so here, let's continue on.
Some Western analysts say its identity. And it came up with nothing better than to build this identity upon some false heroes who collaborated with Hitler. I have already said that in the early 19th century, when the theorists of independence and sovereignty of Ukraine appeared, they assumed that an independent Ukraine should have very good relations with Russia.
Sorry about that.
But due to the historical development, those territories were part of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, Poland, where Ukrainians were persecuted and treated quite brutally, as well as were subject to cruel behavior. There were also attempts to destroy their identity. All this remained in the memory of the people. When World War II broke out, part of this extremely nationalist elite collaborated with Hitler, believing that he would bring them freedom. The German troops, even the SS troops, made Hitler's collaborators do the dirtiest work of exterminating the Polish and Jewish population. Hence this brutal massacre of the Polish and Jewish population, as well as the Russian population too. This was led by the persons who are well known, Bandera, Shukevich. It was those people who were made national heroes. That is the problem. And we are constantly told that nationalism and neo-Nazism exist in other countries as well. Yes, they are seedlings, but we uproot them, and other countries fight against them. But Ukraine is not the case. These people have been made into national heroes in Ukraine. Monuments to those people have been erected. They are displayed on flags. Their names are shouted by crowds that walk.
So, my take on this is that okay, the Ukrainians fought with the Germans against the Russians. So it may be that it's not as all cozy as what it was made out to be. Like they're part of us, which they are, I guess, as one people or whatever. I mean, it was a made-up area by the Soviet Union. It was just part of Russia, I guess, up to that point. So, whatever, I don't know.
With torches, as it was
I
in
can see
Nazi
where they
Germany.
might want to get away from communist Russia with Stalin.
These were people who exterminated Poles, Jews, and Russians.
Это люди, которые уничтожали поляков, евреев и русских.
It is necessary to stop this practice and prevent the dissemination of this concept. I say that Ukrainians are part of the one Russian people. They say, no, we are a separate people. Okay, fine. If they consider themselves a separate people, they have the right to do so, but not on the basis of Nazism, the Nazi ideology.
Would you be satisfied with the territory that you have now?
Нет, сейчас закончим. Вы же задали вопрос по неонацизму и денацификации.
I will finish answering the question. You just asked a question about neo-Nazism and denazification.
Замалчивается на Западе.
Look, the president of Ukraine visited Canada. The story is well known, but being silenced in the Western countries.
Спикер парламента.
The Canadian Parliament introduced a man who, as the Speaker of the Parliament said, fought against the Russians during the World War II. Well,
1 second, time out. I'll show you that. Oh, I had to move my screen because I couldn't see my stream chat. So sorry about that. Okay, let me show you that. I happen to have that. Now this is off of CBC News. Go out and give them a check out. I'll leave a link in the description. But here you go.
Canadian world veteran from the Second World War who fought the Ukrainian independence against the Russians and continues to support the troops today, even at his age of 98. He's a Ukrainian hero, a Canadian hero, and we thank him for all his service.
And a
He
Nazi.
receives not just one, but 2 standing ovations. But turns out, the voluntary Ukrainian division, of which he was a part, they weren't the good guys. They were a combat unit fighting for Nazi Germany. No one seemed to realize this in the moment, but they sure did this weekend.
A Ukrainian veteran who served in a Nazi military unit received a standing ovation.
So yeah. Oops. Wow. Just wow. All right, let's get back.
who fought against the Russians during the World War II? Hitler and his accomplices. It turned out that this man served in the SS troops. He personally killed Russians, Poles, and Jews. The SS troops consisted of Ukrainian nationalists who did this dirty work. The president of Ukraine stood up with the entire Parliament of Canada and applauded this man. How can this be imagined? The president of Ukraine himself, by the way, is a Jew by nationality.
Really, my question is,
Okay.
what do you do about it? I mean,
And it's
Hitler's been
interesting.
dead for 80 years. Nazi Germany no longer
I'm
exists.
going to go ahead and cut it. He's asked what he does. He says that part of the deal that they had struck to end all this over in Turkey, that they threw away, apparently, that they just said no. Anyway, he says that part of the deal is that they were going to have it legislatively banning neo-Nazism or Nazism, neo-nationalism. But let's jump ahead here. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit to right about here. I'm not going through the whole entire video. This is the last point I'm going to make. And I thought it was kind of interesting. So here we go.
Our senior United States senators from the state of New York, Chuck Schumer, said yesterday, I believe, that we have to continue to fund the Ukrainian effort, or U.S. soldiers, citizens could wind up fighting there. How do you assess that?
Real quickly on this. He said that on a show, and it was in relation to the defeat of this border bill, okay? And, of course, they're blaming Trump and the Republicans, like they always do, saying they don't want a secure border. No, that's all we want. We just don't want $60 more billion going to Ukraine, $20 billion going to Israel, while only $10 billion goes to our border. That's the issue. And not just that. I mean, I've been watching Dan B. If you know, you know. And he's been talking about this a lot. And he's showing everything that's in this thing and walking through it. It wouldn't close the border. Even a Democrat said that the border would never close under this bill because it lets in 5,000 a day. What? Oh, my God. Yeah. So that's what he's referring to. You got to pass this bill or we're going to send your kids to war. Fuck him.
Это провокация.
This is a provocation, and a cheap provocation at that.
Американские солдаты должны воевать.
I do not understand why American soldiers should fight in Ukraine. There are mercenaries from the United States there. The bigger number of mercenaries comes from Poland, with mercenaries from the United States in second place, and mercenaries from Georgia in third place.
Безусловно.
Well, if somebody has the desire to send regular troops, that would certainly bring humanity to the brink of very serious global conflict. This is obvious. Do the United States need this? What for?
Национальной территории. У вас нечем заниматься.
Thousands of miles away from your national territory.
На границе полно. Проблемы с
Don't you have anything better to do?
с государством.
You have issues on the border, issues
Even
of
he knows it.
migration, issues with the national debt, more than $33 trillion. You have nothing better to do, so you should fight in Ukraine?
Понимая ситуацию, которая складывается.
Wouldn't it be better to negotiate with Russia? Make an agreement, already understanding the situation that is developing today, realizing that Russia will fight for its interests to the end?
К здравому смыслу.
And realizing this, actually return to common sense, start respecting our country and its interests, and look for certain solutions.
Кажется, что это гораздо умнее.
It seems to me that this is much smarter and more rational.
Who blew up Nord Stream?
You for sure.
I was busy that day. Nate, do you have I did not blow up Nord Stream. Thank you, though.
У вас лично, может быть, есть алиби, у вас лично.
You personally may have an alibi, but the CIA has no such alibi.
Do you have evidence that NATO or the CIA did it?
Вы знаете,
You know,
Let me show you a little something here, real quick. I don't know.
If Russia
Let's just see what. Oh, I don't know. Maybe what was said by this guy.
invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that exactly, since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control?
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it. If Russia
I don't know. Who do you think did it?
I won't get
A
into
mystery.
details, but people always say in such cases, look for someone who is interested. But in this case, we should not only look for someone who is interested, but also for someone who has capabilities. Because there may be many people interested, but not all of them are capable of sinking to the bottom of the Baltic Sea and carrying out this explosion. These two components should be connected. Who is interested and who is capable of doing it?
But I'm confused. I mean, that's the biggest act of industrial terrorism ever, and it's the largest emission of CO2 in history. Okay, so if you had evidence, and presumably given your security services, your intel services, you would, that NATO, the US, CIA, the West, did this, why wouldn't you present it and win a propaganda victory?
In the war of propaganda, it is very difficult to defeat the United States, because the United States controls all the world's media and many European media. The ultimate beneficiary of the biggest European media are American financial institutions. Don't you know that? So it is possible to get involved in this work, but it is cost prohibitive, so to speak. We can simply shine the spotlight on our sources of information, and we will not achieve results. It is clear to the whole world what happened, and even American analysts talk about it directly. It's true.
Yes, but here's a question you may be able to answer. You worked in Germany, famously. The Germans clearly know that their NATO partner did this, and it damaged their economy greatly. It may never recover. Why are they being silent about it? That's very confusing to me. Why wouldn't the Germans say something about it?
This also confuses me. But today's German leadership is guided by the interests of the collective West rather than its national
Collective
interests.
West.
Otherwise, it is difficult to explain the logic of their action or inaction. After all, it is not only about Nord Stream 1, which was blown up, and the Nord Stream 2 was damaged. But one pipe is safe and sound, and gas can be supplied to Europe through it. But Germany does not open it. We are ready, please. There's another route through Poland, called Yamal Europe, which also allows for large flow. Poland has closed it, but Poland packs from the German hand. It receives money from the pan-European funds, and Germany is the main donor to these pan-European funds. Germany feeds Poland
See
to
how
a
it's
certain
all
extent,
connected?
and they close their route to Germany. Why? I don't understand. Ukraine, to which the Germans supply weapons and give money. Germany is the second sponsor of the United States in terms of financial aid to Ukraine. There are 2 gas routes through Ukraine. They simply closed one route, the Ukrainians. Open the second route and please get gas from Russia. They do not
Because
open it.
Germany needs it.
Why don't the
The
Germans
German
say,
people need it.
look guys, we give you money and weapons, open up the valve, please, let the gas from Russia pass through for us. We're buying liquefied gas at exorbitant prices in Europe, which brings the level of our competitiveness and economy in general down to zero. Do you want us to give you money? Let us have the decent existence. Make money for our economy, because this is where the money we give you comes from. They refuse to do so. Why? Ask them. That is what is like in their heads. Those are highly incompetent people.
Well, maybe the world is breaking into 2 hemispheres.
So I'm going to end it there. So I hope this has been informative for you. I will definitely leave a link to the clips and everything. I'll leave a link to the interview and all the little stuff that I threw up as well. That way you can go through it if you want. If you're interested in me going over this more, totally fine with that. I can do the last half, because I really do recommend that you go through it and just watch it. And because you really do learn a lot. It at least gives you some information from the other perspective so that you can think about it and be a little more informed. That's how you end ignorance, is you just listen and learn and research and look at things yourself. Don't be a mindless bot. I mean, I can't tell you, watching these videos, I see these videos of these kids being asked questions about, like, what country is the Great Wall of China in, and they don't even know. They don't even name a country. They name a people. They go, Japanese? It's like, what? Oh, my God. Okay, we're doomed. So anyway, watch the whole thing, and have a blessed night. Peace out.